What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Passable Ball Knowledge Podcast. My name is Sam. That is Aaron. This is our third try recording this, so I'm going to breeze through this intro. We will be recapping the last 10 Super Bowls and ranking them from worst to best, as well as breaking down some of the newest coaching hires. The last two hires came here to us on Sunday. Before all of that, before we dive in, Aaron, how is it going?
It's going great.
Nice.
That's all I gotta say.
Nice. All right, let's dive right in. The last two head coaching jobs of the cycle were filled on Sunday with the Raiders and Cardinals finding their guys. Let's start with the Raiders here. They end up getting the expected candidate, Clint Kubiak, the Seahawks offensive coordinator. Really, I think, boosted his coaching stock. He was kind of seen as the best, like, first-time offensive candidate this cycle. And then he really boosted his case with a very, very, very good playoff run for the Seahawks. And Tom Brady got eyes on him in both of his playoff games, and I think that was probably enough. And Kubiak will be the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Aaron, I mean, this is a big hire for the Raiders. It's a big get. They've had three coaches in 3 years. They're obviously looking to change something, and they go and get maybe the hottest candidate on the market at this point. I mean, just like, what's the outlook for Kubiak and the Raiders, and how are you liking this situation?
I think it's a good hire. I think they finally get like that, like prize coach of the cycle, like because they got Pete Carroll last year. He wasn't like the gem of the cycle, right? But like they get like you get like the guy in the cycle. They get who they want, and quite frankly, I'm kind of surprised he made it like this long. Like I know he's in the Super Bowl and can't really interview a lot, but I'm just kind of surprised they made it this long, or he made it this long. So I think this is a good hire for the Raiders, and it kind of fully, almost like fully restarts things for them.
Yeah, Kubiak, first-time head coach, obviously the son of Gary Kubiak, the legendary head coach. Um, I think in general, this is a big, big, big hire for the Raiders. Last cycle, you said, like, hey, they didn't get the gem. Tom Brady wanted Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson shut them down and said, no, I'm going to Chicago because I like their situation more. They end up hiring Pete Carroll, and it turns out Ben Johnson was right because that Raiders team was bad. I mean, for Kubiak, I think this job makes a lot of sense. You are going to be getting the number one pick in the draft, and you are going to be picking Fernando Mendoza number one overall. And you have roughly $100 million to spend. You have offensive weapons, like you have Brock Bowers and you have Ashton Genty, and he's going to be bringing a lot of coaches along. And this is a scheme that is very quarterback friendly, a scheme that is very friendly to the offensive line as well. And the Raiders' offensive line was amongst the worst in football. For me, I'm curious about what this Raiders team looks like, how Kubiak looks as a first-year head coach. If you guys don't know, I am a Seahawks fan. I love the team. I'm very excited to watch them in the Super Bowl. But this is a hire. I like Kubiak as a coach a lot. I'm a little curious to see how he works as a head coach because I think, from my mind, he falls into that category of a pretty good OC, but he's not this. He doesn't come across as a mastermind to me. He doesn't come across as a Sean McVay, a Kyle Shanahan, a Ben Johnson. Like, obviously, that's a high bar to clear. So I'm not saying that, but this is not like an offensive guru, I would say. He is a very good offensive coach. I trust him to work with this team. I think he will be a very good head coach, and I'm excited for the Raiders to finally get a guy who they trust. Um, I mean, Aaron, for the Raiders, this is an organization that's been so bad for so long. My mind turns to, like, what does the offseason look like for them? Do they try to buy in around Mendoza and see where it goes? I'm curious. Does Max Crosby maybe get traded this offseason? What's the deal with that? I'm sure Kubiak and, I'm sure Kubiak is already thinking about, hey, like, what's going to happen there. I mean, if you're trying to get a good look at the Raiders and imagine what their approach should be this offseason, what would your answer be?
Restart. Like you have, uh, it's gonna be kind of hard to do that though for them because like like you still have like Geno Smith on the books and you still have all these old players that you signed, on the roster. But I think that with Kubiak, with a young coach, you just need to restart. You have Ashton Genty, you have a few young pieces, and then you just kind of build around them this offseason through the draft. You know, like you're going to get Fernando Mendoza. Um, so I think like the best thing they can do is just kind of restart and get like a new core with like Fernando Mendoza, Ashton Genty, and other guys they sign or draft. Um, so I think that should like really be their goal. Like just kind of get rid of this like Pete Carroll roster and bring a lot of young guys that can kind of come up with Clint Kubiak as a head coach.
I'm really interested to see what they do because you wonder with the Patriots doing this of they get the young quarterback, they get the new coach, they spend a shit ton of money, and then they make the Super Bowl. I'm curious to see how urgent they are, how patient they're willing to be, because I mean there is very little talent on this roster, especially if you trade Max Crosby. Like if you trade Max Crosby, that there is very little talent on this roster. I think Fernando Mendoza is going to be a very good NFL quarterback. Um, and at the end of the day, I'm very excited for the Raiders. I think this is a hire that makes a ton of sense for them. This is going to be a very friendly hire to Fernando Mendoza. It is going to be a very friendly hire for the offense, which was horrible this year. And now I'm just interested to see, like, okay, what does he do with that scheme? Does he go for like a McDonald protege? Like, do we really start to see like the first Mike McDonald offshoot on the defense there? That's interesting. You wonder. My mind immediately goes to: does he offer Aiden Dirty, who is the Seahawks' current DC, but he can take the Raiders DC because he would be getting play calling duties? If that happens, I'd be very excited for this hire as a Raiders fan. But overall, I think still Kubiak is a very solid hire. He makes a ton of sense for the Raiders, and I think he's going to fit very well into what the Raiders are trying to do there. The next one, Mike LaFleur is the head coach of the Cardinals. Now, they were also holding out for Clint Kubiak. They met with him, and I think believe that there was a report the day before they met with him that he would rather be the Seahawks OC than the Cardinals head coach, which definitely stings a little bit for Arizona. But this is the state of this job right now. Like, it is a bad job. It is a job where you're in the most difficult division in football, and you don't have much talent on your roster. You're not going to get the quarterback. Like, what is going to happen here? And they end up going and out and hiring the brother of Matt LaFleur, his brother Mike, who is the offensive coordinator for the LA Rams. This is a weird hire. It is a risky hire for the Cardinals, mostly because hey, this guy has never called plays before, and he will call plays in this offense. Now we have seen other guys have this path to success. Zach Taylor, Kevin O'Connell being a couple who were Rams understudies who went to new teams and took the head coaching duties, took the play calling duties as well, and those worked out pretty well. I mean, Aaron, this is a Cardinals team that is in the depths of despair as far as NFL teams go. And they had to kind of go to the bottom of the barrel for a coach. But I think Mike LaFleur has some good things going for him. I mean, what do you think about this hire for Arizona?
I mean, it's risky, but it's boring. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't like it's intriguing. Like oh, they hired this guy's brother, but at the same time, it's like it feels like Jonathan Gannon again. Like I know Jonathan Gannon was obviously like a higher like touted like coach prospect, I guess you'd call it, and like he called plays, but I don't know. I feel like he's just gonna kind of do the thing the Cardinals do. He's gonna be there for 2 or 3 years, and he's gonna get fired because they've won 5 games for 3 years in a row. Um, so I think like if he brings on some like intriguing like coach like coordinators and they get like a new quarterback or just like kind of restart, I think then I'll be more interested in this hire and I'll probably grade it better just because like I don't know, it'll be more fun. But I think it's just a little bit like you could have done better, even though you're the Cardinals and no one really wants to go there.
For me, this hire is really interesting because this whole cycle, it felt like the real went for Rams offensive candidate was Nate Scheelhaus, who I thought up until the last minute was going to get the Browns job. Didn't. And the Cardinals go for Mike LaFleur, who was getting less buzz. Um, I just find this hire really interesting. I mean, this is a guy who has never called plays. It's a big time risk. You're taking in division though. I do like the mindset of, hey, this is the offense that just beats the shit out of us every year. Let's take from it and let's see if we can replicate some of it here. Um, yeah, I mean, I also like the pivot going from Jonathan Gannon, who is this kind of old school defensive head coach, now going to Mike LaFleur, who's I believe he's like 38 years old, offensive coach, first time play caller. I mean, this is a big time risk, and this is the type of move that I really think could be like, this could either be a legitimate hire, a legitimate candidate, or it could be this blows up in your face. He doesn't call plays well. He's just like a Sean McVay 0.25. Like, he's just not good enough. So I'm interested in where this goes. I'm interested in the path that this takes. Like you said, a lot of this is going to come down to assistants. If he can hire some veteran offensive assistants to kind of guide him a little bit, and if he can bring in some like Chris Shula magic on defense, I will really like this hire. I think it has the potential to go up. And I think, frankly, with where the Cardinals were, being a team that, was waiting last for the head coaching selection because nobody wanted it. Shit, one of their finalists was Raheem Morris. That's where this team was. And to get Mike LaFleur, who I think isn't a bad candidate, is a pretty good thing for them. Now, frankly, if you want me to be honest, I think that in a perfect world, Mike McCarthy and Mike LaFleur switch. If Mike McCarthy goes to the Cardinals, I like this hire a lot more. I think he's like a stabilizing head coach who gives you a legitimate floor. And I think LaFleur brings a ceiling to Pittsburgh that wasn't there before. So, I mean, I respect Arizona. I think they really had two choices of going like, okay, we can get risky or we can go for a stabilizer. I think they probably would have wanted a shot at John Harbaugh, but he didn't really give them a chance. So at the end of the day, this hire is okay. I think it's a decent hire. I think it is a hire that at least has a chance of being a very good one. So we'll see where it goes, and we'll see, in a couple of years, really, whether this looks like a success or a failure. We'll go to the last piece of news here that broke this weekend. The Seattle Seahawks are going to be up for sale, according to multiple reports. The big one coming from ESPN. Immediate reports are going to be that the Seahawks are going to be in the range of $7 to $8 billion as far as the number, which would be by about a couple billion, the most wealthy team ever sold. For those who don't know, the Seahawks are currently owned by the Paul Allen Trust. After Paul Allen died, he passed it down to his trust, and he said in his will that the team would have to be sold eventually, and that it would be all the money would go to charity. So I believe that there was also a deal with Washington State where if the team was sold within 10 years of his or within 5 or 6 years of his passing, there would be a 10% tax on the sale of the team. That deadline has passed, so I think that was the first barrier they had to jump. And now, obviously, the Seahawks are in the Super Bowl. They are one of the most successful teams in the NFL. This is a pretty good time to sell. So it looks like the Seahawks are going to be sold. Immediate candidates that are potential here are some pretty crazy ones. Specifically, I think the two that everybody has been talking about are Jeff Bezos and Steve Ballmer. These are guys with Seattle connections who have talked about maybe wanting to own a NFL team. I think Bezos especially has been talking about wanting to own an NFL team from Seattle. We'll see where this goes. I mean, the Seahawks have been one of the most steady organizations in football for a long time. A new owner could be a good or a bad thing. And looks like either way, the Seahawks will be the richest team ever sold, and they will have a new owner probably by the beginning of next year if the timeline works that way. So with all that being said, we will now move to the true topic of this video. We will be doing the last 10 Super Bowls ranked to get prepared for the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. So the last 10, for those who want to know the timeline, that is obviously from last year's Super Bowl, which was Kansas City versus Philadelphia Part 2. Going all the way back to Denver versus Carolina when Peyton Manning was still quarterbacking the Denver Broncos, and when Cam Newton had just won MVP. So that shows how much can happen in 10 years. Both those guys, obviously Peyton's out of the league at this point. Cam Newton's out of the league at this point. Not many. I mean, can you think of any active players on either of those teams?
Von Miller.
Von Miller is still active. Is that it? I think that might literally be an it, which is
That
kind
might
of
be it.
nuts. Greg Olson's out of the league, obviously. Wow. How about that? So much has changed. So we're just gonna get right into it. We're gonna start at number 10. We have a criteria to briefly lay out.
All right.
Aaron, do you
Sorry.
want to lay out? Do you want to lay out the criteria for this? Do you want to explain how you rank these?
Sure. So we have 5 criterion, right?
Categories? I don't know.
Categories. First one being competitiveness. How competitive was the game? That's it. Entertainment. How entertaining was the game? How much fun was it to watch? Storylines. What were the storylines going into the game, not like during the game or coming out of it? Iconicness, which is just how iconic the Super Bowl is, like the game, and the halftime show, which is out of 5 instead of out of 10, like all the other ones are. Everything is out of 10 except for the halftime show.
Yeah, so the ranking, the best possible game if everything gets a perfect score is a 45. Neither of us had a perfect game. At least I don't think. Yeah, the halftime show was out of 5 because it felt weird if like the halftime show would determine what game is better. So we gave that one a little bit less importance. And also, like Aaron said, for iconicness, or no, not for iconicness. For iconicness includes plays. It includes moments. It includes performances. It includes literally anything from the game. It's not just necessarily how iconic it is. And also, as far as storylines go, like we said, this is going into the game. This is not any storylines that take place over the course of the game. This is in the build up to the game. What were the major storylines and how interesting did how interesting were those and how did they elevate the story there? So
neither of our rankings are going to be perfect. We're going to forget about stuff, especially me.
Yeah, we're gonna leave stuff out because we briefly. I mean, we did not rewatch every single game and go through and watch every play and be like, oh man,
we did this in like
play.
20 minutes.
Yeah, so I say we just get started here. Aaron, you want to start with your number 10? I think we're gonna have the same number 10, and then after that, everything is probably gonna be different.
Yeah. So number 10, this was easy. I knew it was gonna be this going in. It's Super Bowl 53, Rams versus Patriots. Should I read out the scores or just like say like the total score?
I think we can go through and just briefly talk about the scores. So just a brief layout here. Super Bowl 53, Rams Patriots. Final score 13-3. New England wins. I think it's important to say the scores for each game.
But yeah, competitiveness, gave it a 3. New England kind of owned this game all the way through. They did not really. Rams didn't do anything. Entertainment got a 1, possibly the least watchable Super Bowl of all time. Storyline 5. I don't know. It's like Tom Brady is in another Super Bowl. Iconic, I gave it a 1. No one cares about this game. And halftime show, which was Maroon 5, Big Boy and Travis Scott, gets a 1. So that totals to a 11.
Yeah, I actually had. I was a little bit more generous. I gave competitiveness a 9. Just strictly speaking, this game was pretty competitive. New England kind of broke it open late, but I think for like 40 minutes of game time, it was 3-3. So it's like it was a competitive game, so you can't complain. Entertainment, I gave it a 2. This is the lowest scoring Super Bowl in NFL history. There are very few iconic moments. The MVP is Julian Edelman, who had like 10 catches for 130 yards. Like it's not a very staggering performance here by any means. Storyline, I gave it a 4. I listed like Sean McVay. I think he was the youngest head coach to ever make the Super Bowl at that point. And then I also have Brady going for number 6. So that was a little something there. Iconicness, I gave it a 4. I think it's almost iconic for being so bad.
Yeah.
Like I think like it's like a kind of a paradox there. And I halftime, I agree. I gave it a one. That was a terrible halftime show. They had like the SpongeBob fake out that everybody was saying, hey, they should do Sweet Victory for SpongeBob, and then they they started doing the SpongeBob thing, and everyone was like, holy shit, here it goes, and it was just Travis Scott doing sicko mode. So, yeah, bad halftime show, really bad, and probably one that will or not just bad halftime show, bad Super Bowl that will be forgotten within the next 10 years. So I will do my number nine. My number nine, I have Super Bowl 59, which is Kansas City versus Philly version 2. 40-22 is the final. Did you have that one or did you have a different one?
I had a different one.
Okay, so I'll just briefly go through my rankings for this one here. I gave this one a 21 out of 45. Competitiveness a 2. Philadelphia at one point was winning like 31-0 in this game. It was just not a competitive game at all. Entertainment, I gave it a 4. It was high scoring at least. You know, you have 62 total points. There was at least points put on the board. So if it's going to be a blowout, at least you got some scoring going on. Storylines, I did give it an 8. This is where this Super Bowl really like succeeds, where you have you have like, oh, the Chiefs are going for the three-peat, the Eagles versus Chiefs rematch. I mean, there were some interesting storylines going on in this game. Iconicness, I gave it a 4. I think very few people will remember this game in the long run. And halftime, I gave it a 3. I thought Kendrick Lamar's halftime was good, not great. I was a little underwhelmed by what I thought he could do versus how his halftime show actually went. So yeah, 21 out of 45. So just beating the New England and Rams Super Bowl.
Um, yeah. At my number nine, I have Super Bowl 55, Buccaneers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I gave the competitiveness a 2. Buccaneers dominated this game all the way through. Final score was 31-9. Um, yeah. Entertainment gave it a 6. I kind of like seeing the Chiefs get destroyed, but also it wasn't entertaining. There's no fans. There was no fans at the game, so how entertaining can it be without fans? For storylines, I gave it an 8. Like Chiefs trying to kind of establish a dynasty. Brady with his new team with the Buccaneers, this new Buccaneers team, like do super teams like work almost, kind of experiment.
Also, I think there was an idea going in where it's like, oh my God, this is Brady, who's the GOAT, and then it's
Yeah, yeah,
Mahomes, which is the young guy in the Super Bowl. I think
yeah.
there was a lot of talk about that.
Iconicness, I gave it a 6, just because like it's Brady's win with the Patriots or with the Buccaneers. It's gonna be remembered for a long time. And the halftime, I gave it a 3. Weekend kind of lousy, but it was good effort by him.
Now you take the next one.
Oh yeah. At my number 8, I have Super Bowl 59, Eagles versus Chiefs 2.
We
Competitiveness.
we flipped those, so I
Okay.
have Tampa Bay, Kansas City at my 8.
Competitiveness, a 2. Yeah, Eagles blowing them out. Entertainment gave this one a 7. This was at peak of my Chiefs hating, so I really just enjoyed seeing them get beat pretty bad. Um, Story gave it a 9. I thought that the three-peat thing was really hyped up. It was a rematch of a Super Bowl from a few years ago, and yeah, good storylines going into the game. Iconic for the same reason as you. It's not going to be remembered too much. And halftime, I gave it a 4. It's like a light 4 though. Um, I thought it was better than a lot of the recent halftime shows, like because like the year before this was Usher. So, um, like, yeah,
Yeah, so like I said, we flipped Tampa Bay and versus Kansas City and Philadelphia versus Kansas City. I have Tampa Bay versus Kansas City at my number 8. Um, competitiveness, I gave it a 2. It was pretty much a blowout from the very first moment of the game. I think like the Patriots had like 3 straight scoring drives to open the game, and Kansas City like didn't score anything. Entertainment, I gave it a 5. There were some pretty great plays in this game. The big moment that I think about when I think about this game is when Antoine Winfield, like Tyreek Hill, like missed a completion on fourth down, and that like pretty much iced the game. And he went right into Tyreek Hill's face and gave him the deuces, which was
Is he
a
still in the
pretty.
Bucks? Antoine Winfield.
I think he is. I think he like got like a bad injury this year though, and
No.
missed the rest of the season.
I
He's still
also
pretty
think
good
of
though.
I think of Mahomes also on that
Sideways
sideways
pass.
throw when he got picked. Yeah.
It is worth noting. Okay, listen, I don't like people like being like, "Oh my god, what a play by Mahomes," because at the end of the day, it was incomplete. He, he he was doing a lot in that game. If you go back and watch the
Yeah.
highlights, he was just like keeping that team alive with everything he could. I mean, obviously they didn't really stay alive; they were dead from the very first moment of the game. But he was doing anything he could to keep them alive. But yeah, I gave that a 5 for entertainment. Storylines gave it an 8. Mahomes versus Brady. It's Brady's first, and run with Tampa Bay, and he's kind of creating his own legacy there. Iconicness, I gave it a 5. It's the COVID Super Bowl. I think that's going to be remembered for a long time. I think people are going to be like, "You remember when the Super Bowl was played without fans?" And I think people are going to be like, "Remember when Tom Brady won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers?" Like people are also going to be like that. And halftime, I give it a 2. I thought the weekend, once again, like when with no fans, the halftime show can only be so good. But I was still underwhelmed by how good the weekend's halftime show was. So from there, I think at this point we're pretty much out of bad Super Bowl land. I think at this point we're pretty much just in the good ones.
I
Um,
think I'm in the 30s for the rest of the way.
yeah. So my number 7 is now. It's worth noting that my 7 through 5 all had 30s. They all had 30 out of 45. So I had to do some judgment here, some judgment calls, and remember how good I thought the game was. I have Kansas City versus San Francisco version 1, which is Super Bowl 54. This was 31-20. Kansas City wins. Kansas City had a 10-point comeback in this game. But at the end of the day, I feel like I just don't remember much from this game. Like, I feel like I don't remember any moments. I feel like I don't. The only moment I remember is when Damian Williams had that run at the end of the game when the game was pretty much ice already. Like, I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, like when I'm thinking, like I guess when I was doing my tiebreaker, it didn't move the needle that much for me. In this game, competitiveness, I gave it an 8. It was a pretty competitive game all the way through. Kansas City had a good comeback. Entertainment, I also give it an 8. Good scoring. Like I said, there was a comeback there. It was pretty, entertaining throughout. Storylines, I gave it a 6. Like it's Mahomes' first Super Bowl coming in. San Francisco kind of had this unexpected run to be a really good team, and also this was Andy Reid's chance to get his first ring, which it's obviously hard to think about now because Kansas City's won so much. But before Kansas City started winning, Andy Reid not having a ring was a big deal. So that was an aspect that I thought about. Iconicness, I gave it a 5. I just don't think people are going to remember this game that much. There, like I said, there's no true moment that like immediately grabs me, which is a fault, I think. And halftime, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought the J Lo and Shakira halftime show was pretty entertaining, pretty good. Definitely surprised me there. I was not expecting to like it, but I thought they did a pretty good job with keeping us locked in. So yeah.
Yeah. At my number 7, I have a pretty iconic Super Bowl. Or not necessarily like iconic, but if I just like remembered. Um, I have Super Bowl 50 at my number 7. Um, this game was kind of owned. I'll go with my scores and then I'll say stuff after. Competitiveness, I gave a 6. Broncos kind of not dominated, but they were like firmly in charge, like for the entire game, especially with the defense. Entertainment, I gave it a 7. I don't remember too much about this game because this was like right at the start of when I started to become a football fan. Um, but I remember like obviously like the fumble, like the Cam Newton fumble, and I remember some stuff about it. Storylines, I gave it a 7. Uh, it's kind of similar to like the Tom Brady versus Mahomes. Like Peyton Manning is this like old all-time great, and then you have Cam Newton, who's like a new kind of quarterback. And also the Panthers were like 16-1 or 17-1, including playoffs going into this game. Um, Iconicness, gave it a 7. I think there are a good amount of iconic plays in this game, like the fumble that Cam Newton didn't go for. And then for the halftime show, which was Coldplay, Beyonce, and Bruno Mars, I gave it a 4. Thought it was a good halftime show, entertaining, and a lot of guests, which is always fun.
All right, what is your number
Oh,
six?
and hold on. And my total score for that was a 31 out of 45. Um, my number 6 is Chiefs versus 49ers 2 in Super Bowl 58. Um, I don't believe I added these up right. Hold on. Give me a second.
All right, well, here I'll do my number six because my number six is you just did it. Kansas City. I had Denver versus Carolina Super Bowl 50 for my number six.
It is right.
24-10 is the final.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, I'll just run through mine really fast. This is the oldest Super Bowl we're covering. Competitiveness, I gave it an 8. I thought this game was pretty competitive throughout. It was really just at the end when Denver pulled away. Entertainment, I gave it a 5. It was pretty low scoring. Storylines, I also gave a 7. I think you gave it a 7 as well. Peyton Manning's last ride, like that is a huge storyline. This Denver defense versus Cam Newton, who is like having like an all-time season. Iconicness, I gave it a 6. Von Miller's performance in this game is iconic. I feel like he just took over this game, and it was so insane to watch. And then also the Cam Newton like not diving on the fumble is a very infamous moment for him. And halftime show, I also give it a 4. I thought Coldplay's halftime show was pretty good. So yeah, that's all I want to say.
Okay, well, yeah, I graded it right. Chiefs versus 49ers 2, Super 58. I gave competitiveness a 10. This was a very competitive game, went to overtime. Can't give us more competitive. Entertainment, I gave a 7. It wasn't too high scoring, but a lot of back and forth. Storylines, I gave it an 8. I think this was to go back to back, yes, and like really establish the Chiefs dynasty, which was like a big storyline going into the game. Iconicness, I gave it a 6. I don't see too many people um, talking about this game. And then halftime show, I gave a 1. I really just didn't. I like you got Usher to do the halftime show. I just didn't like it a lot. And I thought it wasn't a great halftime show, and all that adds up to 32. So a game that got a 10 on competitiveness gets a 32 overall at my number 6 spot.
Well, I mean, I'll bring it straight to number 5. I had KC versus San Francisco too. So we're kind of going back and forth here. So like you said, competitiveness, I also gave a 10. Overtime, just can't do it any better. Entertainment, I gave it an 8. This wasn't a super high scoring game, but it was pretty close throughout. I felt like every time one team scored, another team matched it. Storylines, I didn't think that the storylines were actually that great in this game. I gave it a 4. Like, yeah, it's to go back to back, but I feel like that's not as big of a deal as a three-peat. And plenty of teams have gone back to back before. And I mean, for storylines, like these were like two of the best teams in the NFL. It's not like there was an underdog anywhere or anything like that. I just think like the two best teams in the NFL made it to the Super Bowl, and they were going to see who was going to win. Iconicness, I gave it a 6. The big moment that I obviously think of is a famous Jim Nantz jackpot Kansas City call, at the end of that game where they win the Super Bowl. McCall Hardman has that catch, and they're in Vegas. So he goes, jackpot, Kansas City, Super Bowl champions, back to back, So also you might forget about this. Juwan Jennings threw a touchdown. No, Christian McCaffrey threw a touchdown in this game. Do you remember this?
No.
There was like the running back pass. Christian McCaffrey threw it to Juwan Jennings. So I think about that a little bit too. But yeah, so that's my number 5. And now I think after this, like we're truly at like great Super Bowl. So
Yeah.
You go for your number 5.
And my number 5, I have Chiefs versus 49ers 1 in Super Bowl 54. Let me check this out. Competitiveness, I gave an 8. Let me pull up the score for this game. Super Bowl 54.
31-20.
31-20. It was pretty close throughout the game, and then Chiefs kind of pulled away at the end. Entertainment, I gave a 9. This was when I actually wanted the Chiefs to win, which kind of sounds weird to say. Um, but yeah, I wanted the Chiefs to win this game, and it was a wait. Is this entertainment? I forgot. Am I great entertainment right now?
I kind of zoned out.
Okay, entertainment. Let's go to entertainment. I gave it a nine. Um, this was a really entertaining game. Chiefs scored 21 points in the fourth quarter after being down 20 to 10 going into the fourth. They scored 21 um, to win the game. Storylines, I gave it a seven. It was kind of like, uh, Andy Reid championship, Patrick Mahomes, young guy, new team Chiefs, and then Kyle Shanahan. Yeah. Um, Iconicness, I gave it a six. Um, it's kind of really only iconic because it like sparked the Chiefs dynasty, like it started the Chiefs dynasty. And for the halftime show, I gave it a three. I'm trying to remember who it was now. Who did the halftime show for this?
J Lo and Shakira.
Jalen Shakira. Thought that was a solid halftime show.
All right, you take the next one. Number 4. So
Yeah.
I believe we've had the same first 6, and now we are gonna have the same top 4. I'm curious to see what order you have them in.
Okay. At my number four, I have Super Bowl 57, which is Chiefs versus Eagles 1.
I have the same here at number 4.
Okay. Um,
So we can go through this together. We can go back and forth talking about this.
yeah, I gave. What was the final score of this game? It was like 38-35, right?
38-35. Chiefs had a game-winning drive at the very end.
Competitiveness gave it a nine. This was a great game all the way through. Really fun game to watch. Um, 10 Super Bowls. Sorry, I have to look at my pro football reference. Um, my entertainment gave it a nine. High scoring competitive game. Can't ask for much more out of a Super Bowl. Uh, Story gave it a seven. This was not to three-peat. This was just a game. Uh,
This was the beginning of what could have been their three-peat.
yeah. Um, and the Eagles had kind of come back from like a couple years of like mediocrity um, before this game, so I think that was kind of a thing. Iconicness gave it a seven. It's a Super Bowl. It's going to be iconic. And this is what like really got the Chiefs going. Um, and like a lot of like the Harrison Butker field goal at the end, and
There was that really controversial penalty at the end of that game, the James
oh yeah, the
Bradbury
holding, yeah.
holding call. Yeah,
And then halftime show, I gave it a two. This was Rihanna. It was pretty boring.
yeah.
Nothing too special about the halftime show.
I have the same one. Chiefs Philly 1. I gave it a 33. Competitiveness, entertainment, both tens. Like this game was 38-35. It was back and forth the entire game. A ton of big plays, ton of big moments. Like literally just if you love high scoring games, like competitive games, this is just literally just they were going back and forth the whole game. It was really entertaining. Storylines, I give it a 4. I really couldn't recall any storylines from this game. Like going in, like Jalen Hurts was making his first run in a Super Bowl. Like I guess you could say it's Andy Reid versus his former team, but I couldn't think of any super interesting storylines here. Iconicness, I gave it a 6. I think that this game will weirdly not be remembered as much, even though you're gonna look back and be like, "Damn, there was a 38-35 Super Bowl." Like, and when nobody talks about it, I feel like people already aren't talking about it that much. But this was a great game that I feel like for some reason people just don't connect with. Maybe because there's not that true iconic moment or iconic play that like brings everyone in and is going to be on highlights for like the next like 20 years. Um, in halftime, I gave a 3. I thought Rihanna was good, not great. So yeah. Um, my number 3. I was kind of surprised this one came in so high. Rams versus Bengals is my number 3.
I have the same.
Okay, so this is Super Bowl 56. When you're going and looking at the last 10, this is the matchup that's like in the middle of the Brady and Mahomes era. Like there was like the Brady era, and then it's the Mahomes era, and the dividing year between those two is this Super Bowl, Rams Bengals. Um, Competitiveness, I gave it a 8. It was a very close game the whole way through. Good game, just a good solid game. Entertainment, I also gave it an 8. Not a super high scoring game, I will say, but the Rams did have that late drive at the end, the Cooper Cup touchdown that ended up sealing it. There were a couple big plays in this game that, I mean, this was a very good game top to bottom. Storylines, gave it a 7. This is the Bengals going for their first. This is the young Bengals. Like they kind of came out of nowhere. Matt Stafford was going for his first. A lot of interesting storylines in this.
And Donald.
Yeah, Aaron Donald going for his first. Iconicness, I also gave it a 7. The big moment that I think of in this game is Aaron Donald doing the ring me after getting that sack on Joe Burrow at the end. And I remember right before that game, Rodney Harrison like kind of leaked that Aaron Donald was thinking about retirement, and like nobody thought about that. And then he ended up retiring the year after that. So a bunch of people were like, "Oh my God, is this Aaron Donald's last game? Like, is this how he's going to go out?" In halftime, I gave it a 5. This was the highest ranking halftime of any of them for me. This is, the rap West Coast halftime show that I thought was really well done and was probably one of the more interesting halftime shows we've had in a long time. So, yeah, this one is my number 3, and it's your number 3 as well.
Yeah. Competitiveness, I gave it a 9. Really competitive game. Like neither team ever like caught or like went like too far away. Got too far away from each other. Entertainment gave it an 8. Even though this game wasn't like too high scoring, it was back and forth. Like the whole game going into that fourth quarter was really exciting. 56. Story gave it a 7, like you said. A lot of guys going for their first ring, a lot of old guys going for their first ring. Sean McVay still being like super young, going for his first. Iconicness gave it a 6. Aaron Donald. And I also think of when Joe Burrow missed Jamar Chase on that, and that still gets talked about a lot. When like he missed Jamar Chase on like the last play of the game, and like everyone was like he was wide open.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah, like they showed the camera angle afterwards, and he had like a walk-in touchdown.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I forget about that.
I think about that. And halftime, I gave it a 4, and I think literally the only reason it got a 4 was because it happened during the daytime, and halftime shows don't really work during the day.
That's a good point.
So like the visuals weren't as good as they could have been.
This next one is going to be during the day.
Yeah.
So,
and it's going to be outside too. So,
Yeah.
at my number 2, I have maybe the most infamous Super Bowl of all time. I have Super Bowl 51, Falcons versus Patriots.
So we have the same. We have the same top 2. Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I have this one at number 2 as well.
Yeah. Super Bowl 51, Falcons versus Patriots. I said competitiveness a 9. I didn't give it a 10 because the Falcons were up.
Yeah, I gave it an 8. The
because
first
the Falcons
3.5 quarters of this game weren't competitive.
Yeah, the Falcons were up for a lot of the time there, and yeah, entertainment. I gave it a 10. I'm picturing this as an outside fan, not as a Falcons fan, and I can only imagine what it was like to watch that game.
Yeah.
Um,
Dude, it's the same way for me with the Seahawks and Patriots Super Bowl. The first, well, now I have to say the first Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl, where like I can only imagine like being a neutral fan and like watching someone else's like a team win by getting an interception at the 1-yard line. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
Storyline, to give it a 6. There was no real huge storylines going into this game. I mean, it was like Matt Ryan, MVP versus Brady. Iconic, gave it a 10. It's maybe the most iconic Super Bowl ever at this point. Like I wore a Falcon sweatshirt to school today, and I heard 28-3 multiple times. Especially since it's Super Bowl time in New England. It's pretty
are in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. I don't know why I did that. But so yeah, iconic, it's a 10. Maybe the most well-known Super Bowl ever. And halftime, which was Lady Gaga, I gave it a 3. Thought it was fine. I feel like now Lady Gaga could do even better. And and the final score of this game was 34-28. Just to put that out there.
Yeah, I have pretty similar rankings. Like I said, I gave competitiveness an 8. It's really difficult to give this a 10 when one team is dominating for the first 3.5 quarters, and then one team dominates for the last quarter and a half. Like there was never a point where it felt like they were going back and forth, and it felt like there was everything on the line. Entertainment gave it a 9. Um, it's once again, it's hard to be entertained when the first 3.5 quarters are like, or 2.5 quarters are like, okay, I might turn this off. You know what I mean? Like it's really hard to be entertained like that. Storylines, I think this where this game really sags. Like you said, I gave it a 5. Matt Ryan, was MVP. Um, the Falcons were going for their first, but outside of that, like no true massive storyline here that was like dominating the press going in. Iconic, like you said, has to be a 10 for iconicness. This is a game where, uh, I mean, like think about the big plays in this game. Like you have the pick six from Robert Alford, and you have the Julian Edelman bobble catch, and you have one of the most forgotten plays of all time in that ridiculous Julio Jones sideline catch. You have the 28-3 comeback. This was the first Super Bowl to ever go to overtime. Like this is an iconic game that like 30-40 years from now we'll be like, man, 28-3 was nuts. Like
I'm gonna hear it for the rest of my life. Like there's no way around it.
and I will hear 1 yard line for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Like
We both have traumatic. We both have. It's so funny how we both have like unbelievably traumatic Super Bowl experiences against the Patriots.
dude, I had a professor who was a Patriots fan, and I wore a Seahawks jersey to school. And one time I was walking into the class, and he's like, "Sorry about the 1 yard line." Like literally, like that. Like I hear that still. Like that was 12 years ago, and I still
and I'm hearing from Patriots. I wore a sweatshirt today. I heard this kid was talking to me. He goes, "Oh, you're a Falcons fan, huh? Too bad they suck." so like the Falcons are forever tainted by this Super Bowl, and they're forever going to have a aura around them that we just suck, especially in New England.
Yeah.
On to number one.
On to number one, Philadelphia versus New England. This is Super Bowl 52. This is an unreal game. You want to talk about competitiveness, entertainment. I had them both at 10s. This game was back and forth the entire way. I believe this is the highest scoring Super Bowl with the most yards of any Super Bowl. I think there was like 950 combined yards in this game. And I mean, like, as far as that goes, like the game was literally enthralling the entire time. Storylines, it has to be a 10. This bug is flying around again. It's a ladybug. This has to be a 10. Like, you have Nick Foles winning the Super Bowl going in. You have Nick Foles playing Tom Brady. You have the just famous moments from this game that make it truly incredible. Iconicness, I gave it a 9. I feel like this isn't the super iconic, but you have Nick Foles winning, and then you have the Philly special, which is a iconic play. And I think the most iconic part of it is the mic'd up aspect of it, where Nick Foles walks up to Doug Peterson. People forget the situation. That's 4th and goal with like 20 seconds left to go in the half, and they call a play that they've never run in a game before. And Nick Foles walks up to Doug Peterson and he goes, "Hey, you want to run Philly?" And Doug Peterson was like, "Let's do it." And it's a iconic play. And really the one thing that stinks about this game, the halftime show.
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake was a bad halftime show. I gave it a 2. But yeah, overall, I mean, this is one of the Titan Super Bowls in my mind. It has everything you could possibly want. And even for you defense freaks, it has the Derek Barnett strip sack at the end, which kind of like really swayed that game in a crucial moment. So yeah, that's my number one, and it's also your number one, obviously. But yeah, Philadelphia, New England, Super Bowl 52.
Number one, competitiveness a 9, entertainment a 10, storylines a 9, iconicness a 9, and halftime a 2. So I think we have the same. Do we have the same exact? Except, or no, you give competitiveness a 10, right?
I gave competitiveness a 10. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. When I think of iconic moments, obviously like Philly special, I think uh I think of that strip sack as like a huge point in that game. And people also forget this game was entertaining until like literally like the last second because that Tom Brady Hail Mary was decently close to being caught.
It almost got caught off the bounce. Like it was
It was
crazy.
close to being
It got
caught.
really close.
Um, so like this is almost as good as you can get. If you have this and then the Coldplay halftime show, this is the best Super Bowl of all time. Um, but because Justin Timberlake was here, it's not as good. Um, but yeah, this is just a fantastic Super Bowl. Um, there's really no other way of saying it. Just one of the most entertaining games ever to watch.
And yeah, I mean, also one other thing that we didn't mention: this was Philadelphia's first. Like,
Yeah,
as much as you want to talk about,
and then they
like
burned the city down. So
they burned the city down. This was Philadelphia's first Super Bowl, and also it's also easy to forget this was a rematch when Tom Brady beat them in 2004. Like this was a Super Bowl rematch where Tom Brady was still the quarterback and Bill Belichick was still the head coach, and Philly got their revenge with a backup quarterback.
yeah,
So, yeah, we both agree. We had very very similar lists. I think we really
yeah.
only
I'm
disagree
surprised.
at the very top. Yeah, I really like these lists. I think it makes a lot of sense. And hopefully we get another great Super Bowl this year. Psych. I hope the Seahawks blow them out. So that is going to do it. But before we go, you already know what's got to happen. Aaron, it is time for what happened today in history.
Today in history. Today, it's pretty huge. Today in 1789, George Washington is unanimously elected the first president of the United States. Um, so that's pretty big. Today in 1913, Rosa Parks is born. Um, Today in 1938, Disney releases Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, first full length feature by Disney, I believe. Um, wow, there's a lot to happen today. Facebook launches um, today in 2004. Wait, is this February 2nd? I'm on the wrong day. Hold on. That's
Uh,
February 2nd. Oh
Aaron
God,
was really
I was thinking of the wrong day.
Aaron was thinking of the wrong day off the top of his head.
Okay, today's February 3rd.
Damn.
Um, okay. Buddy Holly died in the plane crash.
Oh wow, that was today.
Yeah. Samuel Clemens begins going by Mark Twain. Woodrow Wilson dies today in 1924. Um, the Patriots win their first Super Bowl today in 2002. Um, and I believe, wait, um, last one. Today in 1966, Lunik 9, a Soviet lunar craft, lands on the moon, becoming the first controlled landing on the moon by not by humans, but by anything. It was the first like thing from Earth to touch the moon.
Wow, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Who was born today? Who's one person that was born today?
I'm trying to think, right? I mean, obviously there are some honorable mentions. Daddy Yankee, Sean Kingston, um,
In
Ira
jail.
Fisher, um, Nathan Lane.
Oh yeah.
Um, oh man, this is rough. Uh, not many born today, but if I had to give a very happy birthday to one person, happy birthday, Sarah Strong, Yukon Husky
Hey.
player. I'm a Yukon student. Aaron's a Yukon fan. Happy birthday, Sarah Strong. We're going for our second straight national title this year in women's basketball, and she's leading the way. She's really, really good. So Happy birthday, Sarah Strong, turning 20 on this day. So that is going to do it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you have any thoughts. Also, remember, we are now on Spotify. So if you want to listen to us on Spotify, check us out there. And if you are our one follower listening to us on Spotify, check us out on YouTube.
Yeah.
So,
Or if also that one follow on Spotify, thank you. That's how the ball gets rolling right there.
yeah, we would be happy to have you on the podcast if you're
Yeah.
listening.
Whoever
Contact
you
us.
are.
We will have you on. So,
Yeah.
hope you guys enjoyed. We will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.